So basically, Skubal, I think, kind of did McCoskey a solid to a degree, and maybe everybody who's so interested in what he's thinking about his contract, and said, okay, I'm gonna answer some questions about it, but I'm not gonna say anything. But I'm begging you not to read anything into this. I mean, he said it has nothing to do with me not wanting to be here. I hope that's clear. There's a business side of the game, and it's not as beautiful as the baseball side of the game. It's just what it is. That was the second time in the second part of the quotes where he says, please don't read anything into it. I'm just trying to win here, and I like it here. It doesn't do any good, and so I'm going to keep it all to myself, to my agent in the front office. I think, but of course, do we read into it? Yep. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt from this regard and say, I'm going to go ahead and respect that. I'm not going to read anything into it. And if you think that these quotes mean he's leaving, fine. One of the reasons why I think it might not mean that he is leaving is because one of the negotiating tactics that people have that makes some sense is, okay, I want to stay here, but I also want to get paid as much as I can get paid. And the only way I can accomplish that is to make them uncomfortable. If they think they've got me wrapped up, then I'm not going to get ever get to their bottom line final. This is their last offer. How do I get to that bottom line final? This is their last offer. I don't say anything. I keep vague. And if it is a negotiating tactic, whether or not that's what he's up to here, I have no idea. But the less you say, the longer this drags out, the more uncomfortable the Tigers as an organization get, then you get closer to getting that one final last, this is it. This is as far as we can go. And if you don't make them uncomfortable, I don't know that you ever get there. So anyway, that's where I'm at with this, and I hope that's what's going on, because I think in the end, I don't know if there's anybody around here that doesn't want to see Skubal in a Detroit jersey for a long time. Now, we can debate the length, because every time we bring up the silly, piffy little sidebar, hey, how about 10 years, $400 million, $450 million, or whatever that was floated in the Barstool podcast. It was, I feel like it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek, said in jest kind of deal. But when it came up, people were like, 10 years is too much. So we want Skubal to be paid what he's worth, just because it's good for the organization to pay players what they're worth. We want him to pay the right period of time, the contract that isn't, and we want him to be happy here.
Yeah, I think, in the end, this is not going to – if there is a negotiation that's being taken place, I doubt highly that it gets done this upcoming offseason.
Yeah.
I think it's probably something that might get tabled until maybe next spring going into the season. I say that just because that's what happened with the Tigers and trying to get Max Scherzer on board. That's when they gave Miguel Cabrera a contract, was going into a season. So we'll see. My gut tells me that the Tigers aren't going to be able to hang on to him simply because they just can't bid with the big boys. They just can't do it. They could offer him an awesome contract. They could give him an 8-year, $400 million deal, $50 million a year, and the Yankees can trump it.
Yeah.
The Mets can trump it. The Dodgers can trump it. The Cubs can trump it. Whoever it is, they can all do better. And I think he knows that. I think the Tigers know that. The Tigers just make their best offer, but that's down the road. Nonetheless, next year at this point, if he still is not under contract, the questions are only going to intensify.
Yeah.
Because then it's going to become this deal where you have to say, are they going to trade him or not, or just ride out the season, depending where they're at a year from now. And that's not going to be comfortable. It's going to be itchy. It's going to be all types of uncomfortable when it comes to next season if they don't have a deal done.
And the problem is here, of course, just these quotes that he's trying to beg people don't read too much into it.
But how are you not supposed to?
I don't know how you're not supposed to. And he answered the questions, but said it doesn't do any good to talk about this. But your point about hiring an agent, like those negotiations, who knows what they're like? Who knows? And what was it? The story also included the Harris quotes from a couple weeks ago when he was on that podcast. Joel Sherman and John Heyman last month. Scott Harris. We can't just decide we're going to sign him. It takes two parties and some understanding of the parameters of a deal, and it takes a willingness on both sides to actually do it. And Harris, I think, later kind of cleaned that up and said, I'm not saying they're not talking. I'm just saying we don't just get to say, hey, we're going to sign him Tuesday.
Yeah, both sides are being very careful about this. And, Scott Harris and the Tigers organization have been very tight-lipped about anything that goes on within that organization. You don't find out until right before it happens. And even then, sometimes you don't find out until it happens. Mm-hmm. That goes with injuries. It goes with player acquisitions. It goes with everything. And Scott Boras he's going to do right by his client in terms of getting his client the best contract possible. So I doubt that takes place anytime soon because he's got a year and a half before the contract, before his free agency comes up. And the pressure's on the Tigers to get something done. It's not on Scott Boras to get something done. So I think if you're Tarik Skubal, you're probably under advice from your agent to just not say anything, which is basically what's happened. Hey, doesn't do me any good to say anything. You're right, it doesn't. You can if they're going to follow up with a question. So, well, do you like it here? You say yes, love it here, absolutely, I love it here. Do you want to be here? Yeah, I want to win, and we got a winning team. Looks great, but any negotiation and all that stuff, I'm not going to talk about that. That's done through my agent. That's done through Scott Harris. Those guys are going to deal with it. So I'm just out here doing the best I can do to help my team win. And right now, we're the best team in baseball.
248-539-9797. Kevin and Fraser. Hello, Kevin.
Yeah, how are you guys doing today?
Okay.
Hey, it's something that I assume that we're smart enough to have done, but since, obviously they're not going to share any details on their negotiations, but the one thing we have is a half a year this year, and we've got next year, and I think he's going to make 22 or 23 million next year, and I'm not sure what he makes now, but we should be turning that into 40 million because that's what he's worth. And then if we want to extend him for 5 years at 40 million, so we give him 280 million for this year, next year, and 5 years, that's our advantage, right? That's the only thing we can do that nobody else can do because we know
sign him now to a massive extension so he doesn't have to wait for free agency.
Exactly, and pay him what he's worth this year and next year, and that's the only carrot we have. And I assume that they've done this and thought of this, and Boras might not be enough for him, but that's for sure what we should do, right? That's the only way we're going to get him at anything.
There was a story that's kind of hard to really know what happened there, but there was a story where I think it was Evan Petzold that had the quote about the Tigers had made a non-competitive offer. Now, you can almost be assured that particular wording came from the Boras camp. Right. I mean, the
Tigers aren't going to say that.
Tigers aren't going to say that.
We made him an offer. It was non-competitive.
Yes. So, with that in mind, it sounds like that was probably part of trying to do just that.
Yeah. And if that's not good enough, I get it, right? And he can go make more, but that's the only thing we can do is pay him fairly for this year and next year, and hope that I'm thinking 280 for 7 years, and that's probably not enough. And then we've got to decide if it's worth it,
Yeah, and he's making just over $10 million this year. He's arbitration eligible next year, so yeah, it probably goes up. I don't know how far up, but let's say it is $20 million to go to $20 million. So that is interesting. If you throw, you basically rip up this situation right now, and that contract starts with next year, which we did last year going into free agency, if you want to get it 1 year ahead of it, but you got to pay him for that year.
Yeah, well, and that's if it's 10 this year and 20 next year, and let's just say we agree he's worth 40, then that's 50 million we can give him that nobody else can give him, and that's that's something.
Yeah, you'd like to see something like that pulled off. I don't disagree with you. 248-539-9797. It's Karsch and Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket.